All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest today. And pull him up. Mark. Before we talk about Mark, this is a Tyrannical Targets podcast, episode number 5. Oh,
nice.
My gosh, episode number 5.
Number five.
I'm just an average guy trying my best to be an above-average Christian father and husband. I like people and I like building community. So this is what these podcasts are all about. Today's guest is Mark. He is a Christian, husband, father, and soon-to-be grandfather.
Yes.
He is a firearms instructor and range safety officer certified by the NRA and USCCA. You can find his website linked on his Instagram page at www.m4personaldefense.com. The M4 stands for number 1, mental preparedness, number 2, motivation, number 3, modification, and number 4, marksmanship, which are the pillars of Mark's teaching philosophy. All ability levels are welcome. Mark has worked with every walk of life and teaches just about every course you could possibly think of. Mark is also very public about a new battle. Mark was recently diagnosed with Parkinson's. Mark is taking on this new challenge the only way he knows how, head on with an unbreakable faith, a strong support group, and an optimism that would lift anybody's spirits. On his Instagram, you can hear candid, no-frills descriptions about the challenges. Mark likes to refer to himself as a Parkinson's warrior. So Mark, thank you for being here. I will link all of your Instagram accounts. You have 3 that I know of. Maybe you have
Yeah, well, there's 2 for me and 1 for my dog. You know, the dog's got to get in it too, so.
No, don't you have Mark on the spot or Mark on the...
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I've got On the Mark Online, which is basically my editorial, but also it's supposed to be a spin-off at some point, maybe for my own audio podcast.
Okay.
So that's kind of coming, but that's down the road.
Cool. Okay. So thank you for being our 5th guest.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is awesome. I remember the first time we connected, my wife and I, and oldest daughter, our newest daughter wasn't born yet. We were pregnant. We were in Arizona, and I was looking for a place to shoot, and I just reached out to the Instagram community. Why we were in Arizona was because my wife's father had lung cancer, and so we were at the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, and he has beat it. Thank the Lord. He took the treatment. He changed his diet. And he had incredible faith, and we were always praying for him, and he beat it. So it's like just over the last few months.
That's awesome.
It is. And I reached out to you and the Instagram community. I was like, where can I go shooting in Phoenix? And you reached out to me and told me, I forget the name of the place.
So I think it's Shooter's World.
Shooter's World.
Yeah, there you go.
I went to Shooter's World, had a blast, ended up handing out a lot of product, put some pictures on our Instagram, and made some good connections, and I shot what I had been traveling with and also rented some of their firearms, which was really fun. So thank you for that. That was our first connection. We've kind of been back and forth ever since.
Yeah, and unfortunately I wasn't able to join up with you, because things were really busy at that time from a firearms perspective, all the training that was going on. But yeah, it was great to connect with you, and I really do appreciate you having me on the podcast. It's an honor, truly. It really is.
Oh man, yeah, right. It's an honor to have you. All right, so before we get into the second half of the Parkinson's, can we talk about your firearms history first?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about your firearms. Firearms first. Who or what inspired you to get into firearms? And tell us a bit about your journey. You have so much experience. So if you want to get into that.
Yeah, actually, I was one of those people fortunate enough. My dad was, a hunter, shooter when he was young. And we were able to get exposed to these stories of hunting at a young age. I was part of a youth organization, which I don't even know if it's around anymore. A lot of people know about the Boy Scouts of America. We had a organization through the YMCA called the Y Indian Guides. And that may not even be politically correct anymore because we kind of, dressed up like Native Americans, those things.
Yeah.
But one of the neat things about the organization, what my dad loved about it, was there was a lot of outdoor activities. We went out, we went camping, we went hiking. It was really centered and focused on being outdoors. And I remember one of those events when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, being introduced to shooting 22s. And now the guy told me I was the best shot of the day. Now I don't know if this instructor out there was like blowing smoke or what, but I left that range thinking I was like the boss. I was like the greatest shot ever, right? But that stood with me. And through the course of time, just was 22s, shotguns, those types of things. We were always, doing something, bows and arrows, knives. We were always involved in the outdoors, and those were things that I grew up with. So that's kind of how I got started. And then all the kids in the neighborhood had pellet guns or BB guns. All my friends had like the Crossman 760. I had the Crossman 766, which had like the big barrel, and I actually saved up enough money to buy a scope and put a scope on it from Big Five. It was like $15, which in the 70s was like an astronomical amount of money. And I work extra chores and do extra special stuff for my mom, and saved up the money and actually put a scope on that thing. And so I was like a sniper from an early age, and just like that was the start of it. And when other kids were out front, in the front yard playing baseball and stuff like that, I was in the backyard putting in range time. My dad had this immaculate garden with these planter boxes up on the hill, and I had targets set up there, and they're all out there playing, and I'm in the backyard. My dad was teaching me, the whole thing about breath control, trigger control, squeeze the trigger, and I was addicted from that early age, and it just kind of progressed from there. So that's kind of what started it. And then when I got older and got my first handgun, I ended up, what's the gun you have to have when you're a kid growing up loving adventure movies? Well, I had to get the Walther PPK because that's what James Bond uses. And, I've got to say, my name is Bond, James Bond, and have my gun and all that stuff, right? But little did I know that my big fat hands didn't fit that little gun very well, and I got a quick lesson in slide bite, right? So then I started learning things about selection process for buying guns, those types of things, when I was a young adult. And just the passion and love for firearms meant that a lot of my friends would come to me and say, hey Mark, we don't know anything about guns, but would you take us shooting? I even had an anti-gun friend that's, I'm not kidding, totally anti-gun, but I want my son to learn about guns, because if he ever comes across a gun, I want him to learn how to handle it, safely, right. Take him out, that kind of stuff. That kind of thing was happening all the time. And finally my wife was like, why don't you just go get your certification? You're doing all this instruction for people anyways, just go get certified. And so, made sense to me. So I went and got my certification and started actually doing it officially. But I've been doing it most of my adult life for family and friends, anybody that wanted to. I wanted to get people hooked on guns and on shooting, because what I found is even the most staunch anti-gun person, if you take them out shooting, the next thing you know, they're like, when can we go again? And that's you're converting them to a life of love of firearms. Once they see that it can be a lot of fun and it can be safe if it's done correctly and those things. And so that's what led me into getting into being a firearms instructor. And boy, it's just carried on to this day. So.
Wow. How long have you been a firearms instructor, approximately?
Certified with the NRA for about 10 years.
Okay.
But like I said, just kind of throughout my life, just been doing the instructing. But an NRA instructor for about 10 years now. Okay.
And your business, the M4 Personal Defense?
Yeah, M4 Personal Defense, just, was a natural outcome of that. And it's been great. I do classes here in the Phoenix area. There's a lot of instructors, as you might imagine. Arizona is very gun friendly.
Yeah.
So which is great. That's one reason why I live here. There's a reason I'm from California, not living in California, right? So
okay, so that's where you were with your father when you were growing up.
California. Yes, yeah, grew up in Southern California. Actually, I used to walk to Padre and Charger games when I was growing up. I lived that close to the stadium. So a staunch, Padre and Charger fan
There.
and grew up in that area. But we would go to the rural areas of San Diego and whatnot to go shooting and whatnot. Had a friend actually that had a ranch out in the Santa Isabel area out by Ramona. Used to do shooting out there and things like that. So, but yeah, grew up in the San Diego and Southern California area.
Mark, I grew up in San Diego also, North County.
Nice.
And, I grew up when it was Jack Murphy Stadium.
Yes.
Qualcomm.
The Murph.
The Murph, yes.
Yeah.
And when the Padres Stadium was, I forget where it was. It wasn't the new one. It was, I forget, when Tony Gwynn was still playing and Fernando Valenzuela, I think the pitcher's name was.
Yes, with the Dodgers.
Yeah, but he was down with the Padres for a little bit, I believe, as a pitcher. I think in his later part of his career.
Right.
Anyway, there's a connection, Mark.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one of the greatest memories of my life. My brother got drawn for tickets for the 1984 playoffs against the Cubs because they had to do it by lottery, and my brother was drawn, but we were able to buy 2 tickets only for all the games in San Diego, all 3 games. And my brother actually let my dad and I go. And some of my favorite memories with my dad were seeing all 3 games in San Diego against the Chicago Cubs, 1984. And the Padres came back, won all 3 games, and went to the World Series for the first time. And I remember, I lived at the top of the hill, the top of the stadium hill. So I lived really close. You could hear the cannon go off when the Charger scored, right? And I remember when the Padres won Game 4 with Garvey's home run, no one wanted to leave the stadium. And we literally could see throughout the night there was people still in the parking lot until the sun came up the next morning. It was an amazing memory. Awesome stuff.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, back to, I want just a little bit about your 4 pillars for personal protection defense. Where did you come up with that? I mean, or is it a combination of just your own personal philosophy or history with firearms?
Well, when I was forming the business, I was kind of doing the overview of what is my teaching going to be about, and those are the things that are discussed no matter what the class is, whether it's basic pistol, refuse to be a victim, the defense of the home, whatever. Those 4 things are usually covered. Now, refuse to be a victim is not a firearms class, so there's no firearms training in that, but you do discuss personal protective devices, that kind of thing, right? But it really does go to those things, but it really starts with a mindset, with that mental preparedness. So are you prepared to be a defender of yourself and of your family? Right. And you really need to start there. And it kind of goes back to Colonel Jeff Cooper's book, Principles of Personal Defense, it's a little pamphlet. You can read it in a day, but when I read that book years ago, that had a powerful impact on me. And it really taught me it's really about a mindset. Now, I've never had to take a life ever. I always tell my students in my classes, I hope no one ever has to take a living life ever. Right. I am really waiting for that zombie apocalypse to happen, but I hope nobody ever has to take a living person's life ever. But it starts with that mindset of I am prepared to defend myself, and that's where we start from. So that mental preparedness, as far as that goes, the motivation, modification, you got to be motivated to make changes and willing to modify your behavior, which I'm in my 50s. Sometimes I'm kind of like stuck in my ways, and I've got to constantly be challenging myself on the sense of, is this really the best way to do this? And pushing myself to learn. Henry Ford has a quote, and I can't quote it verbatim, but he basically said, the day you stop learning is the day you get old. And that's a paraphrase of his saying. Right. And that has stuck with me. So, the motivation, modification, and then of course, marksmanship when it's appropriate. Like I said, refuse to be a victim. We don't do firearms training, but just about every other class I teach has firearms involved, and that's a big part of it too. Not only can you shoot a gun, but can you hit what you're shooting at under stress and duress and that kind of thing. So
absolutely. Do you have any classes that you teach that are under that that are trying to mimic that type of stress or high duress?
Yeah. So in the personal defense of the home class, I actually have some barricades that I've got, one of those tack boards. And what we do for that is We have a, basically your firearm is set on the top of a drum, and we might have somebody do some jumping jacks or push-ups or something along those lines before getting up and doing their course of fire and shooting from behind cover and those types of things. And just getting that heart racing is it makes such a difference in your handling of the firearm and your shooting accuracy, your breath control. It's just amazing. And so we do little things like that just to get you pumped and going, which is a lot of fun. And there's a lot of giggling that goes on because everybody's like, okay, I can do this, But it really is a matter of getting that principle of shooting under stress. And I encourage people too to do things like competitive shooting. I used to do SAS shooting years ago. So that competitive shooting with the 6 guns on the sides and the cowboy rifle and shotgun.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of fun, very family friendly. But when you're shooting with a timer there and a bunch of your family and friends behind you that are laughing if you make a mistake, the stress builds. And I encourage students to think about joining some competitive shooting because it's fun and it's family friendly usually, but there's that learning how to shoot under stress or clear a jam when people are watching and the tension's on. Boy, that really does build your ability to do it under stress, and it's a fun way to do it. So I encourage people to do stuff like that too.
Yes. Tongue-in-cheek question: do you still encourage your students to compete even though ammo prices are what they're at right now?
yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, ammo being what it is, but absolutely, and if you can find a way. But yeah, you go through a lot of ammo in those competitions.
Yeah, okay. Woo. Mark, I'm going to go down our list here. All right. I know that there are lots of people, even the Bayou Gunner Logan, he was on just a couple episodes ago. He's trying to become a firearms instructor. What could you, and I know of a handful of other people that are trying to go down that same path. What advice would you give them about not only becoming a firearms instructor, but potentially opening up their own business? So you've done both. What would you tell somebody if you're a mentor?
Well, it's funny because I've been doing this for a while. I've actually had people that are brand new approach me. I had a gentleman I sat next to. I got certified with UCCA last year, so I'm qualifying in the Tucson area with a bunch of 9 out of the 10 guys in the class were NRA instructors already. But one guy that sat next to me just got his NRA certification. And hey, can I teach a class with you, Mark? And a lot of instructors would take that very defensively, like, no, you're my competition.
Yeah.
I really don't care. I welcomed him on board. I had a young man in the Phoenix area. He's a great guy named John. If he's watching, hey John, how you doing? But John, great guy. But 19, so he's not old enough to be a NRA instructor, but he got his certification to basically be an assistant. And he came and helped me. And a lot of guys would see that, or not guys, but guys and gals, because there's a lot of good women instructors out there too. A lot of instructors would see that as, I don't want to give away my territory, but the way I see it is, Arizona is very gun friendly. There's a lot of gun enthusiasts here. I see it as a way to reach the most amount of people with safety and those, firearms instruction. I welcome that, right? So I've had that question come up a lot. What I usually tell people is know your stuff, first of all. You got to know what you're doing. Now, with me, I don't do a lot of tactical drills. There's a lot of guys out there that are former military, former police that do a lot of tactical stuff. My most tactical is the one I was talking about, maybe the defense of the home, that kind of stuff. Beyond that, I really don't care. My niche, my forte, so to speak, is a lot of the new people coming in. I have a lot of patience with people, and that's where I rest. And that's where a lot of my students will say, yeah, go to Mark because I was terrified to do this, but he put me at ease, right? Yeah. And so another thing I would tell people is find that niche, find your sweet spot. What are you going to focus on? Because there is going to be a lot of competition. Yeah. So you want to know your stuff, but you also want to find your place, and a place that you can exploit, if I can use that word, and reach the public. And I have no problem with that. I work kind of lockstep with Aero Security. We've kind of have an agreement. I use their facility They've got a great facility, great simulator, and their instructor there is, he was with a SWAT team for 12 years and a law enforcement officer for 22 years. He does not have the same patience with new shooters that I do. And so he sends people my way because he's not going to do it, right? And so I know my niche, and that's what I do, and that's what I love. That's why I got into this instruction, because I love taking somebody who grabs their firearm, like this, and they get their teacupping, and they're doing these things, and at the end of the session, they've got a good firm grip on that. Their stance. I take delight in seeing what one class can do, but I also tell people this is just the beginning. So those are the types of things that I share with new people coming into the industry, and I welcome them. I don't shun them. I think the Second Amendment community has done a lot for me, and I try and welcome and spread out the welcome mat for others as well.
Yes, as a fellow teacher, I'm a music teacher in my day job. I can relate to that. Taking a student and seeing that light flick on, the light just go ding.
Exactly.
It's very satisfying.
Absolutely.
It is. So you're very accessible as a person. Your Instagram's accessible. You're very pleasant. You know your stuff. Your website's accessible. Common sense training for everyone. Training plus safety for everyone. Our goal is to bring you practical instruction in a relaxed atmosphere that will benefit people from all walks of life, from the novice shooter to the experienced gun enthusiast. We will help you with training so you can build the personal protection plan that works for you in your lifestyle. So that is nice, no matter what level you are. Next time we're passing through Phoenix, I'm going to sign up for a class because it would be cool to hang out and just to learn from you. But I wanted to get to the personal protection plan. What do you tell people that take that course? If it's a course.
Well, it's not necessarily a course. It's a philosophy. It's where we go. Okay. As an example, I had in the last 6 or 8 months, I had a woman that had never really shot a gun before, and so she took my basic pistol class and learned how to appropriately handle and store and take care of a gun.
Yeah.
Got her so enthused about shooting, she took my women on target class, which is all women.
Yeah.
And with that, she morphed it into in the defense of the home class, right? Yeah. And she's building block upon block, so to speak. And that's really what it's about. Everybody's at a different stage for their own personal defense.
Yes.
I could have, and I do, because I border some retirement communities, Sun City, Surprise, those types of things. So I do have some clientele that have some experience or some age under their belt. So I might get a woman in their 70s coming in and saying, I need to defend myself with a handgun. So we start with that. I've also had people come in that are, just, straight out of college, mid-20s, guys that are ripped and buff, and they know about guns, right? As we talk, though, what's your medical experience? Do you know how to pack a wound? Those no. Okay, let's talk about that, right? So the personal protection plan is something that I discuss with anybody that wants to go down that path, and we start talking about the next step levels. I've had phone calls with people, and we've literally laid out a bullet pointed plan over the next year. Here's some things that I think you should do to get there. And whether you take the classes from me or somebody else is a moot point. I'm really interested in your safety, your security, and here's where I think you should go with this. And that's really what that is about. So my personal protection plan, do you have a way to store your guns? Boy, I'll tell you, in 2020, I got phone calls, I'm not kidding, from people that were like, I bought a gun, I brought it home, I don't know what to do with it now. There's a rush on toilet paper, a rush on paper towels, and I'm buying a gun, I don't know what to do. And on the phone, I was literally, really, okay, then talking people through things. So do you know how to store your gun? And then, you get past those basics. Then you start talking about, do you have a safe room? Do you have your room secured at home where you've got a little extra supplies, maybe a phone that's in service that you can use to call, that's always charged, and whatever. So depending on where the person is, we just go through those steps. So it's not necessarily a class. but it's in essence a consultation that I offer just as part of what I do to make sure that people have a plan in place to help them get where they want to go.
I don't want to go too deep into this, but we, having a wife and 2 young kids, we'll be like, okay, if somebody's banging on the door in the middle of the night, what happens? You and the kids are going here. I'm getting our firearm. I'm going here. And then I'll go into, like, every now and again I'll go into Rambo mode.
Right.
I'm just creeping around the house and Matt just, clearing rooms with the light and the laser, just like walk, I said, I don't want to go too deep, but it's important to have that safe room and to know your space and,
right.
and to, know your layout, know what weak spots are, know where you can get in a window without having to use a ladder. There's so much to protection.
Absolutely. Do you have a rallying point where even your kids know if something happens, where they know right away to go to that rallying point? And and little kids get it. And there's a sense of security for your children to know that dad's put some thought, and dad and mom have put some thought to this, to say if something happens, go here, and they know like that's the safe spot, right? And so there's a sense of security that really comes in trying to be prepared like that.
Yeah, preparation. What is that saying? Preparation, like, alleviates anxiety, or I'm sure there's lots of sayings like that.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Anything else about your business that you want to kind of throw out there?
I love doing what I'm doing. It's fantastic. And, it's something that I've always wanted to do. And now that I'm doing it, it's just, I don't know, it breathes life into me when I'm in front of a class, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. And students sense that. They know when you're like passionate about your subject matter.
Yeah. Well, and we have fun. We try and have fun and try and make the material entertaining as well as informative. So if you come to my CCW class, I have a little Easter egg that I have out there. If any of my students, they know that saying, I hope I never have to shoot a living person ever, that comes up. And we talk about that because we also talk about avoidance and evading, which I think are just as important as your firearms training. Also the thought of trying to get away from something. It's not something that sits well with the macho mentality of some of us guys. It's like meet force head on. Sometimes the best thing to do is to beat feet and run. What's the whole reason you want to become proficient with a firearm? It's to protect your family and yourself so that you can enjoy your family. Well, sometimes the best thing to do for your family's health and your health is to run, right? So, I mean, there's that part of it too. But we talk about a lot of stuff. But yeah, there's little Easter eggs, and there's some things that some of my students know that are coming, and it's a lot of fun. It's good times.
Good. All right. Can we shift subjects? Are you okay with that?
Sure. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
We talked about this before. So your latest battle, Parkinson's. Can we first, I was looking it up, I was doing my own research, but from your own words, your own mouth, can we define Parkinson's? What are some of the signs? And what science knows about it? Are there treatments? Is it preventable? I'm sure a lot more than I do.
Yeah. Well, no, and I appreciate that. Now, so yeah, there's a lot there. So Parkinson's,
packed.
So Parkinson's is a condition where part of your brain produces dopamine, and dopamine is used by the body to control motor movement, motor skills, those types of things. And for whatever reason, and at this point, we still don't fully know why, people such as myself that have Parkinson's lose that ability to produce dopamine. That part of the brain slows down or even eventually dies off. And so dopamine has to be supplemented. And so with that, it affects motor skills. So with me, as an example, it was I just wrote a blog. It's actually on my website for April's Parkinson's Awareness Month, and it's still April. So we're talking about this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
With me, it was in February of 2020. My left hand, my index finger and thumb started to get a twitch. And I was working a lot of stress, and just thinking stress related. And then that morphed into my entire hand tremoring at times. And I was like, well, that's really weird, you know? And then, like, when I would grab the steering wheel, my hand, you know, my right hand here, but my left hand would actually grip the steering wheel so tight, like, and so that my forearm would get really fatigued. And like, what's going on? You know, almost like losing control of a part of my body. And so in April, I went to see my doctor, and he said, well, yeah, you've got an essential tremor, is what he diagnosed it as, which is something that some people have. And then later, time went on, and later in 2020, around the holidays, the symptoms became worse. I started getting other symptoms. There's something with Parkinson's called bradykinesia, where you actually, some of your motor skills slow down. With some people, their foot might drag. With me, it was my left hand. When I would walk, my left arm wouldn't swing, and I didn't even notice it. I was walking with a person I know, and she said, "Would you hurt your shoulder?" I was like, "No, why?" And she goes, "Well, because you're not swinging your arm when you're walking. It looks weird." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I know it sounds strange, but I was like, I didn't realize it, but my left arm wasn't swinging right, which is one of the telltale signs of Parkinson's disease. So basically, the tremor, rigidity, my hand was locking up, and also that what they call bradykinesia, that lack of movement. So I went back to the doctor or after the holidays in January, and share these things with. And I love my doctor, by the way. My doctor's fantastic. He's a Second Amendment guy. He comes in blue jeans, cowboy boots, and an overcoat. He's fantastic. He comes in, and he's like, "Mark, I'm really concerned about what I'm hearing, dude." And he always takes time with me, and I love that about this doctor. And he sat down, he rolled up his little stool, and he said, "I see some symptoms of Parkinson's here. We need to head this off." Sent me to the neurologist, and long story short, was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So that being said, there is no cure, but there are some drugs that can help mitigate it. So when we go back to the subject of being a firearms instructor, when I got this diagnosis, I had to digest, and I had to assimilate this information. So my classes in March and in April, in May, I took off the calendar. Except my CCW classes, and keeping those there. I needed to digest this. I throw myself into everything I do, so I had to learn about this and just accept what was going on. And so I've learned that no, there is no cure. I am on some medications which do make me a little drowsy, and ramping up the dosage. But it's okay. I'm actually finding with some adaptation with my diet and other things, I'm doing okay with this. And I do plan on basically pushing forward with classes starting in June, the live fire classes, things like that, which is fantastic. But there's other things called deep brain stimulation, which is that's way down the road, those types of things, right? But one of the neat things about Parkinson's is how it affects people differently. It's called a unique disease. Not everybody gets it the same way as everybody else. Linda Ronstadt, a famous singer, I remember from my growing up days, right? She got Parkinson's disease. She's had to stop performing because it affected her vocal cords. As you can tell, I have no problems talking at this point, and as far as that goes, my hand shakes. And when I teach classes, even in my CCW class, I address it head on with the students. Guys, I got Parkinson's. My hand's going to shake. So when I'm teaching you guys stuff, I can teach you guys the stuff, but you're going to notice my hand shaking. Just understand it now, right? Let's take that off the table and clear it off, that kind of thing, right? Doesn't mean I know any less. It just means that I've got a condition that creates a certain distraction at times, right? That kind of thing. So, but I will tell you that the Parkinson's community, similar to the Second Amendment community, has been very supportive. And I've had people from literally around the world. I've had people from the UK and Australia and other parts of the country just saying, "Dude, hang in there, stick with it. You're a firearms instructor, keep at it, man." A lot of them are pro-gun guys, and they're like, love the fact that you're still out there. And at this point, it has not affected my shooting. It does affect my support hand a little bit as I extend out. It is shaking a little bit more now than it was, but I can still keep it on target. I have some targets on Instagram to prove it. I'm still able to do that, but it is a degenerative disease. So it will get worse with the course of time.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I've come to grips with. That's something that my wife has had to come to grips with, that, Mark's going to be dealing with this. And fortunately, she's very, very supportive. But Michael J. Fox has a quote, and as you may know, Michael J. Fox got Parkinson's when he was 28, which is called early onset Parkinson's, young onset Parkinson's. But he has a quote that I love, and it says, basically, acceptance is not resignation. He accepted the fact that he had Parkinson's, but he wasn't resigned to letting it run his life.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I'm approaching it too. I've accepted that I've got it, but I'm not going to let it run me. I'm going to push forward with everything I can to fight this.
Yes.
And promote Second Amendment causes while doing this. And I now have an additional purpose with my life, and that's really to promote awareness and fundraising for Parkinson's research, which I find a lot of satisfaction in. And like I said, there's been a great embracing in that community already there. So it's kind of like now I belong to two families, the Second Amendment community, which is a great community, but now I'm part of the Parkinson's community where there's been a lot of support there too. So it's actually been very, I don't want to say cool, because it's not cool to have a degenerative brain disease. But like I said, if you're up to where you're at, the support has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say therapeutic at all to kind of help?
That's a great, yes.
Like, it's not just me. There's a whole community out there.
Absolutely. And that's a great way to put it, therapeutic. As an example, I started an Instagram account and a YouTube channel, Mark in the Park 21. Is my Instagram. And I started that. It's funny. One of my coworkers, I was kind of mumbling out loud at an office I was in, and she said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, I don't know if I should start this account. I don't know if anybody would be interested in seeing this." And her reply was, "Maybe you do this not for them, but you do it for you. Maybe you need to do it as an outlet." I'm like, that is brilliant. Yes. So I've created that account really as a vlog, as a way to just vent and say, here's what I'm going through. And I'm finding that, again, that communication is helping other people, while it allows me a channel to express myself as well. So that is very therapeutic.
Yeah, I like it. I follow all of your Instagram accounts.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate the honesty and just the raw emotion, and you just put it out there. And that's I think it's brave. It's a good way of therapy, and it's a good way to connect to people, because not everybody does that. Not everybody's just like, here it is. Everybody's like, well, it was kind of a crappy week, but I'm going to put my one awesome picture on Instagram. Like, that's not life.
Yeah.
Life has valleys and hills and valleys and hills and a lot of valleys and hills, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Life is not linear. That's an expression that somebody said years ago that I've latched onto. That is so true. Life is not linear. There are bumps in the road. It is not point A to point B straight line at all. The journey goes all around, and it's never straight. The road is never straight. And the sooner you understand that in life, the better off you are. And it took me a long time to figure that out.
Yes, yes. There's a Bible verse on your Instagram. It's Romans 30.
Oh, Romans 8:28.
Romans 8:28. Do you know that offhand? Do you want me to look it up?
Yeah, basically that verse says, all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And that's become my life verse. All things work together for good. Doesn't mean you'll necessarily like what happens, but somehow, some way, it'll work out for the best. It'll work out for the good. Even if you don't see it, it'll work out for the best. And so I have an eternal perspective that goes beyond this life. And that's the beauty. I mean, I'm in my 50s. I know that might shock everybody to find out, I'm but if I live to be 70, 80, 90 years old, okay, that's great. But in the span of eternity, that's nothing, right? And so I have this perspective of there's going to be things that happen, and I may not even understand it until someday down the road, or may never know it in this life. But that's okay. All things will work together for good,
The beauty
and
of
I believe that.
the beauty of having that faith perspective, right? That
Right.
eternal, what do you call it? The eternal perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There's actually there's another Bible verse that I've been kind of latching onto in the last 6 months. In the story of Daniel, um, there's a story where the king basically tells Daniel's people, you can't, when this happens, you basically have to do this. When you hear this music, you got to bow down and worship, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Basically told him, when this happens, you got to do something that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
And these guys stand up to the king and they say, you know what, king, God can deliver us from your hand. But even if he doesn't, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that even if statement I have circled, and that is my goal, and that's what I've been living towards the last 6 months. Even if those words, is it possible that God could take me out of this, or that I could be healed? Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
But even if he doesn't, that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's really what I've been trying to focus on. It's that even if faith, that is what I've been trying to live towards. That even if things don't go the way I would like, I mean, yeah, sure, would I like to not have Parkinson's? Absolutely, but I've got it, and even so, I'm going to try and do the right thing, be who God wants me to be.
Absolutely. That eternal perspective is this body is temporary, this life is temporary, this world is, all temporary.
Exactly.
Makes you kind of, if you're feeling down, you're like, well, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, I got to say, I keep in my prayers and want the best for this journey that you're on. I, I like to see what's happening on your Instagram. I don't know how it feels, obviously, but your positive mindset is so inspirational. It's
Well,
really
thank you.
great. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, and that's why it's there, is to try and basically help others. It really, and there's great examples. There's a guy named Jimmy Choi on Instagram. I think it's JC Fox something. I'm sorry, I can't think of it. But he's actually been on American Ninja Warrior, and he's had Parkinson's for like 13 years.
Cool.
You watch the physical things that he can pull off, and he's got a much worse tremor than I do. And I'm watching this guy like, holy smokes, right? And again, probably, in an age range beyond, yours. He's a little older, but this guy is a beast. And I'm like, if he can do that, then I can do stuff, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, there's a guy locally here where I live, a member of our church, and a good friend of mine, and he's had stage 4 cancer for 4 years.
Wow.
And sometimes, when this whole Parkinson's thing hit me, I was like, oh man, this really sucks. And I'm kind of down, right? And then this guy calls me like, hey, Mark, how's it going, man? I'm like, guy's had stage 4 cancer for 4 years, and he's like so upbeat. I'm like, dude, and he's lifting, me up, saying, hey man, keep your head up. And I'm like, yeah. It's kind of like the old movie Dodgeball. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Yes.
Where the cyclist comes up and talks about having cancer and living through it. It's like, really puts things in perspective. And there's people with much worse symptoms than me and other things, and those are the things you keep in mind. And you know what? Again, all things are going to work together for good.
Yeah,
we're gonna play this out, and whatever happens. But I'm gonna try and keep my head up and keep my faith going as far as that goes.
Good. Well, keep posting. It's an inspiration to everybody.
Well, thank you.
We have a little more time. Do you want to go into a couple more sections?
Sure, absolutely.
Because like I said, it's got to be under 60 minutes, or I can't post it to Instagram.
No worries.
Okay. Yes. All right. We have time to do the lightning round.
Okay.
Okay, this is it. And then is it okay if people reach out to you if they have questions about firearms or you know, whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I welcome questions, comments about firearms, Parkinson's, anything. Living in Arizona, it doesn't matter. Where's a good place to eat in San Diego? I'll tell you, El Indio Taco Shop,
I was
So,
gonna say, Hodad's, go get a burger in Ocean Beach.
absolutely. There you go. Definitely got to do that.
Or Chris's Liquor Shop in Ocean Beach has the best sandwiches you've ever had.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It's like so amazing. Why is it in a liquor store? It's like, why is every delicious restaurant or food place on the East Coast in a gas station?
Right.
Don't know.
Exactly.
All right, lightning round. It's blank or blank,
Okay.
unless you think of something else.
Okay.
Pistol or revolver?
Pistol.
AR or AK?
AR.
Indoor or outdoor range?
Outdoor, definitely. Even in Arizona, 110-degree heat, I'm outdoors.
Outdoor. SIG or Glock?
Okay. Heart says SIG. I love SIGs. But my Glock 19 is with me everywhere. It's my buddy. It's with me all the time. It's on my hip during classes. It's concealed when I'm not in class teaching. So I'm going to go with Glock, even though my heart really says SIG. I'm going with Glock.
Just put one on each side.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Beretta or 1911?
1911.
Concealed carry or open carry?
Oh, concealed carry, man.
Pistol light or no pistol light?
I love pistol lights. I've got one on my Beretta A1. I love it.
Red dot or no red dot?
No red dot.
Solo range day or with friends?
I'm going to say solo range day because all of my range days tend to be with students and other people.
Yeah.
And I really, really cherish my alone time on the range when I can practice. Plus, I like black powder and other stuff like that. I like to do percussion revolvers, and I can't do that in class. So my alone time is cherished.
Okay, I completely get that. Med kit on you or med kit in your car?
On me.
Mr. T or Mr. Rogers?
Oh, I pity the fool that doesn't say Mr. T.
I pity the fool. The beach or the mountains?
Beach.
Cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs all the way.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
If you drink, beer or wine?
I don't actually.
Okay,
Yes.
skipping that. And the next one, book or TV?
I should say book, but yeah, I'm going to say book.
That's for all the youth, right?
Yeah.
Read books. Gym or park?
I'm going to start going to the gym, but I really love the park.
Okay, you can work out in the park.
Yeah, there you go.
Ketchup or mustard?
Oh, mustard.
Car or truck?
Truck.
Trumpet or saxophone?
Trumpet, because my son played the trumpet when his band won the state band championship in 2011. My son was part of the high school band championship, and he played the solo trumpet part that won them the championship. There you go. Yes. Proud dad moment there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Where's my trumpet? I got a trumpet right there.
Oh, there you go.
Classic rock or classical music?
Classic rock.
Favorite Arizona sports team?
Arizona, oh, the Cardinals. Yeah.
Okay, that's not a blank or blank. I was just throwing that out there. How about Cardinals or Diamondbacks?
The Cardinals.
All right.
Because I'm still a Padre fan, and the Diamondbacks are, they're rivals in this division. So I got to go with the Cardinals because they're not,
Excellent. All right, that is it for the lightning round.
Awesome. I survived.
You survived the test. Now I have a few more questions. We have time still. We got more time. You can keep them short or long, whatever you want. Your favorite condiment?
I'm mustard.
Nice. I dip. My wife thinks it's weird. I dip egg whites in mustard, like boiled.
Oh, nice. I could see that. I've never done that, but I could see that.
And French fries and mozzarella sticks, and I'll even every now and again dip my grilled cheese in it. Anyway,
Yeah.
You're like, that is so gross. Favorite type of food?
Um, my wife is Mexican, and I should say Mexican food because she's a great cook, but I still love Italian. Italian is nothing better than Italian.
Favorite movie?
Okay, just came up the other day. Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, the best movies of all time, still in my opinion.
Okay.
Okay, I will stand on that. But the movie Inception is right up there. I loved Inception for the movie, the plot line, and the Hans Zimmer music.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, great movie.
So all of his scores are so rhythmically driven and tribal.
Right. Exactly. I have the soundtrack. I own it. So absolutely.
All right. So what do you think happens at the end of Inception? Does the spinner fall or does the spinner keep going?
The spinner actually does fall.
Okay. All right.
Yes. My son and I discussed that at length. He's a keep spinning guy. I'm it falls guy. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, all right. Favorite song or band?
Favorite song? Oh, you know what? Dry Bones by Lauren Daigle.
Dry Bones. Laura Daigle.
Lauren Daigle.
Lauren.
She's a Christian singer. That's a song that I absolutely love. And the way she sings it, it's an amazing song. I love that song.
I'll check that out. That's excellent. Do you have a dream gun? I'm sure you shot everything out there. Do you have a dream gun?
Gosh, I have shot a lot of guns. A dream gun. You know, I really don't, because that sounds kind of odd. Well, like I've got a Sharps up on my wall up here, a Buffalo gun. That used to be my dream gun. Now I own that. You know, it's funny. It's like, and I don't know.
Okay. A man who has every firearm he needs and wants.
Well, that's the thing, is contentment. That's the thing. I may not have all the guns in the world, but what I have does the job. There you go.
You just won $5 million. How do you spend it?
Okay, my wife and I have actually talked about this. So the fantasy of winning the lottery. The first thing we do, of course, we pay off any personal debts, get, house is paid off, those things. The next thing we do is we do whatever we can to help our immediate family, to take care of them. And then we sock some away for our grandchild. So we actually have a hierarchy of things we would do. First thing, take care of the personal debts, the whole debt-free thing.
Yeah.
And then we just make sure the family is taken care of, maybe it's a trust fund or something like that for the immediate family. And then it's all about the grandchild, at that point.
I like how you're throwing that into your future grandchild.
Yes.
I hope he watches this at some point when he's older and goes, Grandpa was thinking about me even, before I was out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
Well, the thing I'm excited about too, my son's his middle name is Cooper. For Cooperstown, New York, where the Baseball Hall of Fame is. That's how much of a baseball fan I am, right? And before he was born, we actually thought about naming him Cooper, naming him Daniel, and we decided on Daniel Cooper. But it was a really tough decision. But they've decided to name their son Cooper. So now we have, my son's name is going to be Daniel. His son's going to name Cooper. Those are the two names I love, and I'm thrilled about that.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Zombie apocalypse. The world is burning.
Yes.
You have one firearm, but unlimited ammo. What do you reach for?
A shotgun.
Okay.
I'm a believer in a shotgun. So much flexibility, different kinds of ammo you can use. I know the capacity may not be the greatest, but you can also mount a bayonet on that puppy, and because trust me, I've thought about the zombie issues, and I would go with a shotgun.
Are we talking 12 gauge, 20 gauge, pump, semi-auto, tactical, stock? Where are we?
Imagery. Yeah, so 12 gauge, because the proliferation of ammo, you can find 12 gauge ammo, and it's easy to load. So shotgun ammo is easy to load. And a tactical configuration would be great. With a tactical light, like I said, you mount a bayonet on that puppy, get that little jousting action going. That'd be fantastic. But I would probably, if you ever saw the movie Book of Eli, yes. Probably have it, backpack mounted like Denzel Washington.
Yes,
that's pretty cool. So that's how I kind of envision myself roaming the lands in the zombie apocalypse. Just like Denzel there with that pump action in my backpack.
Pump action and the
yeah.
bike.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly right. There you go.
All right. Lastly, okay. One more, and then words of wisdom. First time you shot a gun?
The first time I recall was that time with the youth group where we shot the 22s. Okay. So, like I said, I was about 8 or 9 years old, somewhere around there.
Last time you shot a gun?
Last weekend.
Last weekend?
Yes.
Lastly, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed this one. First Instagram post and last, if you remember.
My very first Instagram post was a gaming account that I don't have anymore. Believe it or not, at my age, I am a gamer. I actually am on Xbox. Don't laugh. But I posted a photograph of my son at his new computer. My son was building a computer. So my first post was of my son sitting at his computer, building his computer.
Yeah.
That account doesn't even exist anymore, but that was my first post.
Okay. And your last one?
Probably one about the Pat Tillman run I did over the weekend. That's the last one I remember.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I still skateboard. I'm like a big kid. I still do all this. I'd never be like, yeah, cool. You play video games. That's fun. Lastly, words of wisdom or words that you live by. We've already talked about some Bible verses, but is there anything else that you kind of like aside from that, or that you want to elaborate on?
Well, and expounding on the life is not linear. This is not maybe not a Bible verse, but there's going to be bumps in the road, and just like we have to be prepared to protect our family with firearms, protect ourselves, financially, whatever, with backing and all that stuff through an organization like USCCA, all those things, right? You have to think about being prepared for life's bumps, and you have to have a support system somehow in some way in your life. So we've talked about some things. I find my comfort in the scriptures. I hope that people out there too would do the same thing. Maybe you don't share that same belief out there. I don't know. But it's not linear, and you have to be prepared for those bumps in the road. That's how I prepare for them. So I'm guessing somebody else could do the same.
Yeah. I like it. Powerful. What can our Instagram friends look forward to see from you moving forward on the gram?
Well, I'm committing to. I did a recent story, talking about when somebody hands you a firearm, don't trust that it's not loaded. Check it yourself.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my brother, and that kind of morphed into, I'm going to start doing a series of those 30-second snippets on here's some things to think about for gun safety. There's a lot of new gun owners out there, and they don't know anything. And excuse me, I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. There's people that panic pot. They don't know what they're doing. And if I can throw some things out there that'll help people, that's what I'm going to commit to doing. So on my M4 Instagram page, I'm going to start doing that consistently, doing some stories that can help people hopefully in their firearms knowledge.
Nuggets of information, of powerful information and knowledge that you have accumulated over the years.
Absolutely. And then for the other account where the Mark in the Park one, I'll continue to talk about Parkinson's, like I said, because that's going to be therapeutic for me, but I'm learning and I'm growing. And so I'll continue that, but it's not just going to be about Parkinson's. I post something about making a knife. I'm my hands busy in the garage in the workshop. So there's going to be some more personal stuff over there, which hopefully some people will find some amusement into.
Yeah, I like it. It's nice to see like just the inside back, windows into a person's life other than just what's in the front, I guess. Like now, like talking about your life. It's very interesting. And I appreciate you doing this with me.
Well, like I said, it was an honor to be here with you too. It's always been fantastic to interact with you, and I really enjoyed your broadcasts here. These are fantastic. So I'm honored. So
we're gonna do more, and down the road, I would love to do another one, maybe in person when we're passing through Phoenix.
That would be fantastic.
We might be passing through in a couple months here, so.
Well, let me know.
Yeah.
I've got a restaurant we can go to, so I've got it already picked out.
Okay. I'm gonna play my outro song. Thank you, Mark.
Awesome.
Thank you.